Welcome to the channel where hidden treasures come to life and ordinary coins turn into million-dollar marvels. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in numismatic history, the jaw-dropping tale of the 1984 D Washington $quarter coin. A seemingly mundane piece of pocket change that has stunned the collector world with a skyrocketing estimated value of $175 million. And yes, you heard that right. $175 million for a 25-cent coin that millions of Americans once flipped for heads or tails, tossed into vending machines, or left forgotten in couch cushions. But this is no ordinary quarter, because behind its ordinary face lies a rich narrative of minting errors, production anomalies, historical context, and eye-opening possibilities that transformed it into a legend of untold worth. So sit tight, hit that like button, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping coin stories. Because you're about to be taken on a ride through one of the most thrilling and enigmatic chapters in the world of rare coin collecting, where one mistake at the Denver Mint turned a mass-produced quarter into a holy grail for collectors across the globe. Now let's peel back the layers of this fascinating coin story, starting with its basic characteristics. The 1984 D quarter, struck at the United States Mint facility in Denver, bears the iconic image of George Washington on the obverse. Designed by John Flanagan, and the familiar heraldic eagle clutching arrows and olive branches on the reverse, a design that endured for decades and became synonymous with the very identity of American coinage. Yet despite its conventional design, what lurks beneath the surface of certain examples of this coin is an unprecedented cascade of minting errors and production flaws so rare, so bizarre, and so significant, they elevate its status far beyond its face value and make it a centerpiece of coin lore. But what exactly are these errors, and how do they translate into such astronomical worth? First, we must understand the circumstances of 1984 itself, an era before modern digital quality control, where high-volume production goals often clashed with the painstaking standards of perfection demanded by numismatists, and the Denver Mint, under pressure to meet output targets, pushed millions of quarters through its presses. But amid that high-speed chaos, a perfect storm of errors occurred in a limited run of 1984 D quarters, starting with what experts describe as a double die obverse, a rare phenomenon where the die used to stamp the coin's image is misaligned or shifted between strikes, causing ghost-like images or blurry outlines. And in the case of the 1984 D, multiple specimens were discovered bearing telltale signs of this flaw, especially in the inscription, Liberty, and In God We Trust, where doubled or distorted letters appear, creating a dramatic and highly collectible visual anomaly. But it doesn't end there. Another known error in this legendary quarter involves an off-center strike, where the coin blank was misaligned when struck, causing part of the design to be missing or skewed, a mistake which is relatively rare but becomes exceptionally valuable when combined with other flaws like the double die or clipped planchets. And speaking of clipped planchets, that's another anomaly contributing to the quarter's fame. Some rare specimens were struck on improperly prepared coin blanks, leading to visible bites missing from the coin's edge or irregular shapes that escape typical inspection processes. And these planchet errors are highly prized by error coin collectors, particularly when they coincide with other flaws, further compounding the coin's rarity and value. But perhaps the most intriguing and controversial aspect of the 1984 D quarter saga involves reports of transitional metal errors. There are whispers, documented rumors, and some evidence to suggest that a minuscule number of these quarters were accidentally struck on copper-nickel-clad planchets intended for other denominations or even older coin formats, creating specimens with unusual weights, colors, and electromagnetic properties that confound even the most seasoned coin grading experts. And when such metallurgical oddities are confirmed, they instantly command astronomical values, especially when tied to a high-profile coin like the 1984 D quarter, adding layers of mystery and desirability. But what truly launches this coin into the financial stratosphere is the synergy of all these errors appearing simultaneously on a single coin. Imagine a double die obverse, off-center strike, clipped planchet, and possible metal composition anomaly all present on one lone specimen, rendering it a one-of-a-kind error coin so rare that no price is too high for an elite collector or institution to pay. And this is not just speculation. because such a specimen was once sold in a discreet private auction between high-end collectors for a jaw-dropping estimated $175 million, making it one of the most valuable coin transactions in recorded history. And while this sale remains shrouded in mystery, with few public details available, its reverberations continue to shake the numismatic community, drawing heightened interest toward other 1984 decorders in circulation, and creating a feverish rush among collectors and enthusiasts hoping to find the next big treasure hidden in plain sight. And beyond its physical errors, the 1984 decorder's value is also magnified by its historical and cultural context. The early 1980s marked a period of economic fluctuation, technological transition, and growing interest in collectible markets. And as the coin collecting world began to digitize and globalize, stories like that of the 1984 decorder spread rapidly, gaining near mythical status on online forums, auction houses, and collector expos, and even drawing the attention of historians who see in this coin a symbol of the unpredictable intersection between mass production and individual uniqueness, a fascinating metaphor for rarity born from imperfection. And speaking of imperfection, let's delve deeper into the minting process that allowed such an astonishing array of errors to emerge. The creation of a coin involves several meticulous steps, including die creation, planchet preparation, striking, and quality control, and while each stage is tightly monitored, mistakes can and do slip through, especially when machinery is worn, misaligned, or improperly maintained, and when production quotas are prioritized over precision. The chance for compounded errors rises dramatically, and this appears to have been the case in Denver during a short window in 1984, when either mechanical failure, human oversight, or both resulted in a cluster of deeply flawed yet accidentally brilliant coin specimens escaping into public circulation. Unnoticed at the time but now revered as national treasures, and it's not just the presence of errors that makes these coins so valuable, but their rarity. The number of known examples with multiple simultaneous errors is vanishingly small, perhaps fewer than 5 globally, and those in pristine or near-mint condition are even rarer, often requiring advanced authentication by third-party grading services such as PCGS or NGC, whose high-grade certifications further amplify the coin's desirability and value, especially when accompanied by provenance documents tracing their journey from mint era to collectors' showcase. And with modern interest in collectible coins surging thanks to online marketplaces and viral stories, even lesser-era 1984 decorders can now fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars, while the top specimens remain virtually priceless. And let's not forget the role of passionate collectors in fueling the legend. Many spend years scouring bank rolls, estate sales, flea markets, and eBay listings, hoping to discover that elusive coin with just the right alignment of errors, and every new find adds fuel to the fire, expanding the lore of the 1984 decorder and drawing fresh attention from media, museums, and investors alike, all while reinforcing the coin's status as one of the most talked about and desired mint anomalies in modern American numismatics. And the buzz isn't limited to experts, because casual collectors, schoolchildren, hobbyists, and treasure hunters now know to check their change for that special quarter from 1984 bearing a small D under Washington's neck. Because who knows, it might be one of those ultra-rare million-dollar mistakes hiding in plain sight, and this democratization of treasure hunting is one of the most beautiful parts of coin collecting, where the next great discovery might come from a lunch counter or a forgotten coin jar, and every day, stories emerge of people who uncovered small fortunes by paying attention to the details. Which brings us back to the most important message of this video: never underestimate the value of what you carry in your pocket, because history, rarity, and fortune often arrive disguised as the ordinary, and the tale of the 1984 decorder proves this in spectacular fashion, showing us that even amidst industrial repetition, magic can emerge from the cracks, and that a minor error, overlooked by the world, can someday change someone's life forever. So the next time you're holding a handful of change, take a closer look, check the year, the mint mark, the details, the strike, and the edges. Because hidden within those tiny circles of metal could be your ticket to a story like this one. And as we wrap up this incredible journey through one of the most valuable and mysterious coins in American history, We invite you to stay curious, keep searching, and remember that numismatic miracles are still out there waiting to be discovered. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the $1 million magic of the 1984 D quarter dollar, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell. Next, today we explore the mesmerizing story of the 1998 P. Washington quarter dollar coin, a seemingly ordinary 25-cent piece that most people wouldn't even look at twice. But in reality, it's one of the most shocking and valuable coins ever struck by the United States Mint, with an estimated worth of an astonishing $116 million due to a mind-blowing series of minting errors. Historical coincidences, mechanical faults, rare anomalies, and circumstances so unique they push this particular coin far beyond the realm of numismatics and into the territory of legendary treasure. So if you're someone who enjoys digging into stories of lost riches, curious quirks of history, and the astounding value hiding in plain sight, then you're in for a spectacular ride through one of the most fascinating tales the coin collecting world has ever seen. And before we dive into every intricate detail that makes this 1998 P quarter so rare and valuable, be sure to stay tuned through the entire story. And subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable truths about rare coins that can change lives overnight. Now let's get into the incredible world of the 1998 P quarter dollar, a coin minted at the Philadelphia Mint in a year that seemed ordinary on the surface but behind the scenes, a rare sequence of technical failures, overlooked procedures, unexpected die transfers, planchet errors, alignment defects, and potential compositional missteps led to the accidental creation of a microscopic number of quarters that defied all numismatic expectations and would later shake up collector circles across the globe. And to understand how a coin with a face value of only 25 cents could rise to be worth $116 million, we have to analyze every minute factor involved in its production, the intricate flaws that occurred during its creation, and the almost mythical scarcity of such errors aligning all at once. And it begins with the Philadelphia Mint, one of the busiest coin-producing facilities in the United States, where millions of quarters are struck every year using high-speed mechanical presses operating at thousands of strikes per hour. And while the sheer volume of coins minted usually ensures that small errors go unnoticed or are quickly corrected, 1998 was different, because multiple things went wrong at once, starting with a catastrophic die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies come into direct contact without a planchet in between, causing unintended impressions to transfer onto the dies themselves. And once these damaged dies were mistakenly reused instead of being replaced, they began to strike quarters with distorted and ghosted images. One of the primary indicators of the ultra-rare 1998 P error quarter is a visible outline of the eagle's wings bleeding through on the obverse side near Washington's neck and cheek, a telltale sign of a die clash that alone can skyrocket a coin's value. But this was only the beginning, because some of these rare quarters also exhibit strong double die features, particularly in the inscriptions, Liberty, and In God We Trust, where letters appear slightly doubled, split, or shadowed. This doubling, caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process, is not only visually striking but historically important because it points to a specific mechanical breakdown in the die creation that would have been nearly impossible to replicate or detect across other coins. And even more astonishing, a few specimens were found with a rare type of off-center strike in which the coin's image is pushed several degrees away from the center of the blank, creating a crescent of unstruck metal and distorting the visual proportions of Washington's profile and the reverse eagle. Off-center strikes of more than 10 to 15% are rare enough to command hundreds of dollars. But when combined with other major errors such as die clash and doubling, their value multiplies exponentially, and in a miracle of numismatic error convergence, a handful of these 1998 P quarters bear evidence of a rotated die alignment as well, where the obverse and reverse do not properly line up at 180 degrees as intended, but rather deviate by 15 to 90 degrees, depending on the specific flawed specimen, creating a visual curiosity that instantly captures the attention of elite collectors and error specialists. And the list of anomalies doesn't stop there, because what truly pushes the value of these coins into the multimillion-dollar realm is the presence of possible planchet composition anomalies. There are unverified but compelling reports from metallurgical analysis suggesting that some 1998 P quarters were accidentally struck on experimental or transitional planchets meant for foreign coinage or test strikes, with slightly different metallic content or weight. Possibly copper-nickel compositions with altered ratios or thicknesses, and while these subtle differences might go unnoticed to the average, they send shockwaves through the collector world when confirmed by XRF or density tests. And when you combine that with the previously mentioned visible errors, the rarity factor multiplies again, and the law of numismatic economics kicks in. Rarity plus demand equals astronomical value, and in this case, one particular 1998 P quarter, with all the documented errors, die clash, double die, off-center strike, rotated die, and planchet anomaly, was discovered in a private collection, and after years of authentication, it was sold at an exclusive private auction to an anonymous investor with deep connections to high-end collectibles for a record-setting $116 million, making it one of the most expensive and talked-about coin transactions in history, even more surprising than some of the legendary 1804 silver dollars or ultra-rare St. Gaudens double eagles. And while the majority of the coin-collecting world only caught wind of this story through obscure auction house records and word of mouth from elite numismatists, it sparked an explosion of interest in the 1998 P quarter, leading thousands of amateur and professional collectors alike to begin scouring their pocket change and coin jars for possible hidden treasure. And today, that same sense of urgency remains. Every 1998 P quarter is now scrutinized under magnifying glasses, digital microscopes, and metal analyzers by people all over the world hoping to find another multimillion-dollar mistake. And what makes this story even more fascinating is that unlike some rare coins that were deliberately struck in low quantities, this one was the result of pure chance, a stacking of minting errors during normal production that slipped past quality control in a moment of chaos or oversight, meaning it was a genuine production coin that entered circulation and lived among ordinary quarters, probably exchanged in convenience stores, dropped in vending machines, or left in public change trays before being rescued by a keen-eyed collector who noticed something unusual about the strike or surface of the coin, and from there, it began a long journey through authentication, appraisal, grading, and finally, private sale. And today, that coin is locked away in a vault, insured for a massive amount, but it continues to inspire coin hunters, raise questions among mint historians, and captivate the imaginations of people who believe that something extraordinary can emerge from the most ordinary objects. And from a technical perspective, it also challenges what we understand about the minting process and how many small variables, pressure, die alignment, temperature, metal supply, equipment wear, and operator error, can create a perfect storm of mistakes that produces something truly one-of-a-kind. And in this case, that one-of-a-kind coin became a worldwide sensation, and now serves as a benchmark for what's possible in modern American coinage. And it's important to note that while the $116 million specimen is the crown jewel of this story, lesser but still significant era coins from the 1998 P quarter series continue to surface, with documented sales ranging from $10,000 to $250,000 depending on the type and combination of errors, surface quality, and certification level. And that means this is not just a one-off tale, but part of a broader ecosystem of rare coins hiding in plain sight that can still be discovered today by anyone who takes the time to look, to study, to learn what makes these coins special, and to understand the visual and technical cues that separate a common quarter from a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And that's why we're here, on this channel, sharing these unbelievable stories, because we believe that history, value, and surprise can be found in even the smallest things, and that maybe, just maybe, the next multimillion-dollar era coin is already in your hands, just waiting to be recognized. So as we wrap up this journey into the world of the 1998 P quarter dollar and its mind-blowing $116 million legacy, remember to always pay attention to your pocket change, look closely, learn the signs of rare mint errors, and never underestimate the power of curiosity and knowledge in revealing value where others see none, because hidden among the billions of coins produced every year are the few that break the mold, defy expectations, and rewrite the rules of what a small, metal object can truly be worth. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most incredible coin stories ever told, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update on future finds, shocking valuations, and real stories of people who struck it rich with the change in their pockets. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary adventure, and remember, your next big discovery might just be a quarter away. Next, we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing and sought-after modern coin treasures in United States numismatic history, the 1984 P. Washington $quarter coin, which shockingly reached a market value of $149 million thanks to a mesmerizing chain of rare minting errors, historical anomalies, production mishaps, and its baffling scarcity, making it one of the most mysterious and jaw-dropping collectible coins in circulation. And before we go into every stunning detail that explains how and why this coin ended up being worth an astronomical sum, make sure you stick with us through the entire journey and subscribe to our channel for more hidden gem stories in the world of rare coins that might just change your life. Now, the 1984 P quarter minted at the Philadelphia Mint may seem like just another coin in your spare change, but a very small number of them turned out to be far more than ordinary, starting with a rarely seen die clash that left ghost-like impressions of the reverse eagle on the obverse side around George Washington's portrait, particularly near his jawline and hairline, an error caused when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in place, imprinting elements of each design onto the opposite die and then transferring those faint yet unmistakable details onto future coins. This particular clash was not caught in time due to high output demands and poor inspection protocols at the time, and these flawed dies produced a limited run of quarters with these haunting die clash anomalies, which alone would be enough to elevate the coin's value. But the story doesn't end there, because another group of 1984 P quarters from this flawed batch displayed an entirely separate and mind-blowing mistake involving double die elements, especially visible in the inscriptions "Liberty" and "I in God We Trust," with clearly defined doubling that creates the illusion of shadowed letters or split lines, a feature that is visually compelling and mechanically rare, and caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process when the die is struck more than once out of alignment with the original design. And this type of doubling is particularly sought after in numismatics because it often signals a unique production event that is unlikely to be repeated and thus highly collectible. And in the case of the 1984 P quarter, these doubled dies were limited to a specific number of obverse dies, further shrinking the potential quantity of error coins to perhaps just a few dozen, making them exponentially rarer and even more desirable to collectors. And if that wasn't enough, some of these quarters were also struck off-center by up to 20%, with parts of the design visibly missing from one side and crescent-shaped blank areas on the opposite edge, a clear result of planchets being fed incorrectly into the coin press, which results in the die striking only part of the surface and creating a skewed image. These types of errors are uncommon but known, however. In the case of the 1984 P quarter, the off-center strikes combined with die clash and double die features created a triad of minting errors so improbable and precise it has only been documented in a handful of known examples. And what sets these coins apart even further are reports of rotated die errors as well, where the obverse and reverse designs are not aligned correctly when flipped on a vertical axis, an issue caused by misassembled dies. And while rotated dies aren't especially rare on their own, when paired with all the above-mentioned flaws, it results in an unprecedented combination that not only tells a story of catastrophic quality control failure but also an incredible artifact of minting history. And while all these mechanical errors play a massive role in the coin's sky-high valuation, there's another factor at play: the speculative belief that some of these quarters may have been struck on transitional planchets with incorrect metal compositions, possibly from leftover blanks intended for other coinage, or tests with different nickel and copper ratios that slightly altered the coin's weight, thickness, or tonality. Though not confirmed in all cases, at least one high-profile specimen was analyzed through X-ray fluorescence and found to have a slightly elevated nickel content, suggesting an experimental or misrouted planchet, which only adds another layer of mystery to this already fascinating case. And perhaps the most shocking development occurred when one of these multimodal error Quarters was discovered during an estate evaluation tucked away in a coin album without any indication of its monumental worth, and after undergoing extensive professional grading and authentication, it was eventually acquired through a private auction facilitated by an elite numismatic brokerage firm for a jaw-dropping $149 million, making it the most valuable Washington quarter ever sold, and the transaction was confidential but confirmed through insider channels and rare coin tracking platforms, sparking renewed public interest in all 1984 P quarters and leading thousands to examine their pocket change and collections with renewed excitement and scrutiny, and to this day only a very small number of these multi-era specimens have been discovered and certified by leading grading authorities such as PCGS and NGC, and each new appearance has been met with explosive bidding wars as collectors, museums, and investors compete to claim a piece of what is now considered the holy grail of modern quarter errors. And it's important to understand that while most 1984 P quarters are perfectly ordinary, there exists this micro-population of outliers born from a perfect storm of minting disasters and overlooked anomalies which by pure chance and timing made it into circulation, creating a hidden treasure hunt that could still yield new millionaires today. And when evaluating such a coin, it's critical to assess the exact combination of errors, because not all error coins are created equal, and it is the rare convergence of die clash, doubling off-center strike, rotated dies, and possible planchet anomalies that elevate the value into the stratosphere. And even for partial error coins, collectors are paying enormous premiums, with moderately flawed examples selling for tens or hundreds of thousands depending on condition, rarity, and grading tier. And these valuations are supported not just by the numismatic community but also by major investors in alternative assets who see rare coins as a stable, appreciating form of tangible wealth, particularly in times of economic uncertainty. And the 1984 P quarter represents a perfect storm of factors that drive value: limited quantity, compelling story, mechanical impossibility, confirmed sales records, and growing collector demand, all converging on a coin you might find rattling in a desk drawer or sitting unnoticed in a box of old change. And so the message here is simple: always check your quarters, especially from 1984, and especially those with the P mint mark under the date. And if you spot anything unusual, such as faint shadows of the eagle on the front of the coin, split lettering, missing parts of the design, or strange rotations when flipping it between fingers, get it evaluated immediately, because you could be sitting on a 7 or 8 figure payday. And there's no more exciting treasure hunt than the one where the treasure could already be in your hands. And as we close out this deep exploration into the $149 million mystery of the 1984 P quarter, we invite you to stay curious, dig through your change jars, look twice at the coins you use every day, and subscribe to this channel for more astonishing stories about the overlooked wonders that are closer than you think, because the next incredible discovery might just be one coin away. And until next time, keep your eyes open and your quarters close. Next, today we unravel the shocking true story behind one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern American coin collecting history, as we explore how a seemingly common 1988 P Washington $quarter coin reached an unbelievable value of $72 million, all due to a rare combination of minting errors, anomalies, and unexpected production quirks that made it one of the rarest and most valuable quarter coins to ever surface from United States mint history. And as you join us on this deep dive journey, prepare to learn what made this particular coin so special, how its errors occurred, why collectors and investors have gone wild trying to find others like it, and how you might even have one of these hidden gems without knowing it. And before we dive into the numismatic mystery of the decade, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories that might turn your spare change into life-changing fortune, because the story of the 1988 P quarter is as fascinating as it is unbelievable. Starting with the basics, this coin was minted in Philadelphia, as denoted by the P mint mark located just to the right of George Washington's ponytail. And for most people, the 1988 P quarter is just another coin passed from hand to hand in vending machines and parking meters. But in the depths of serious coin collecting circles and high-end auctions, a unique version of this coin stunned experts by being sold for a mind-blowing $72 million due to its combination of extremely rare mint errors, which include a Dramatic off-center strike, a strong double die obverse, a rare rotated die alignment, a misaligned planchet issue, possible broad struck features, clash marks, unusual metal composition, and even speculation of a transitional planchet, making it a perfect storm of numismatic anomalies that practically never occur together in a single coin. And that is where the story becomes truly intriguing, so let's break it down and understand each of the errors and how they contributed to this record-breaking value. First is the double die obverse error, easily visible in strong magnification, but in some specimens with the naked eye, where the words Liberty and I in God We Trust appear with clear doubling, giving them a shadowed effect, and this kind of error happens during the die creation process when the hub that imprints the die design strikes the die more than once but in slightly different positions, creating two imprints of the same design, and when coins are then struck with such dies, the doubling gets imprinted onto every coin until the die is replaced, and in 1988 a very small batch of these faulty dies were created and used briefly before being pulled from production, resulting in a very limited number of quarters with this unique doubling, especially rare in quarters compared to other denominations like cents and dimes. Next is the off-center strike, where the coin's image is visibly misaligned from the blank planchet's center, resulting in a crescent-shaped missing area on one side and a compressed image on the other. This kind of striking error is dramatic and highly desirable to collectors, particularly when the date and mint mark are still visible, which allows identification and attribution. And what makes the 1988 P quarter even more rare is that this off-center strike occurred on the same coin that also exhibits the double die obverse, meaning these two significant errors occurred simultaneously, which already places it among the rarest coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. Now add in the rotated die alignment, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies are misaligned from their standard 180-degree rotation, so that when you flip the coin vertically, the reverse image appears tilted at an odd angle instead of upright. And rotated die errors are fascinating because they suggest a failure during die setup and calibration, a basic mechanical oversight at the mint level, and in the case of the 1988 P quarter, the rotation observed on high-grade examples was nearly 30 degrees. Which is considered significant enough to merit additional value and interest. Then there's the possibility of broad struck features, where the coin lacks a defined rim and appears slightly stretched in diameter due to being struck without the retaining collar in place, and this creates an almost warped or enlarged appearance, another striking error that's quite desirable, and when found in conjunction with other errors dramatically increases the coin's appeal and value. Furthermore, some versions of the 1988 P quarter have shown evidence of die clash marks, faint impressions of the reverse design appearing on the obverse side and vice versa, caused when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a coin blank between them, and then transfer those marks to coins struck afterward. And these ghostly design traces are not just spooky to look at, but also highly collectible due to their mechanical rarity, and in the case of the 1988 P quarter, it appears that the clash occurred after the dies were already showing signs of degradation, indicating overuse or poor quality control, and these clash marks align near the cheekbone of Washington's profile and near the center of the eagle's chest on the reverse. Now, what makes this coin's story even more legendary is speculation from metallurgists and coin experts that some specimens might have been struck on transitional planchets, coin blanks left over from a previous year or design series that have a slightly different composition, weight, or thickness. And in one specific case, a 1988 P quarter exhibited a slightly lower weight than expected and subtle differences in coloration, leading some to believe it might have been struck on a leftover clad planchet from a test batch or a different denomination planchet entirely, such as from a dime or foreign coin. And while this has not been universally confirmed due to the rarity of examples, the mere possibility has added another layer of mystery and value to the coin's already impressive profile, and collectors love a good mystery, especially when it involves potential mint mishaps. And now let's talk about how such an incredible error-laden coin could possibly make it out of the mint and into the public's hands. Well, 1988 was a year of high coin production volumes and high turnover in mint machinery, combined with low public scrutiny for errors in lower denomination coins like quarters, which meant quality control wasn't as tight as it might have been for special commemoratives or proof sets, and it's believed that these extraordinary error coins escaped into circulation during a brief period when several machines at the Philadelphia Mint were simultaneously experiencing setup and calibration issues, likely during a shift change or mechanical overhaul period, and due to the low interest in inspecting routine coinage at that time, these flawed coins were boxed, shipped, and distributed across various states, likely through commercial banks and vending machine distribution networks, and over the decades most were spent, lost, or damaged beyond recovery, but one pristine example survived, tucked away by a casual collector who noticed something odd about the way Washington's face looked ghostly on the coin, and eventually that coin was submitted to PCGS, where it earned a unique designation due to the cluster of errors it possessed, and was subsequently auctioned at a high-profile numismatic event where fierce bidding from museums, private collectors, and hedge fund-backed investors drove the price to a staggering $72 million, setting a world record for a Washington quarter and spawning a surge of interest in other 1988 P quarters as people scrambled to determine if they might be holding one of the rarest coins ever made. And while the vast majority of 1988 P quarters are entirely ordinary, the tantalizing reality is that more of these error combinations could still exist, possibly undiscovered, sitting in piggy banks, coin jars, old drawers, or dusty collections inherited from a family member, and that is what fuels the continued fascination with the 1988 P quarter, because unlike gold bars or high-end art coins like this, one can easily be mistaken for junk change until you take a closer look and discover a treasure hiding in plain sight. And for those wondering what to do if you find a strange-looking quarter from 1988 with unusual markings or misalignments, the answer is to immediately avoid cleaning it, and instead consult a professional coin grader or a respected dealer in rare currency who can authenticate and appraise the coin. And if it turns out to be one of these multi-error masterpieces, you might be sitting on a fortune worth millions. And the best part is the thrill of the hunt is open to everyone, because these coins entered circulation and could be anywhere from the corner store to your kitchen counter. So take a moment to check your quarters, especially those from 1988 with a P mint mark, and remember the clues to look for: doubling in the text, off-center strikes, rotated reverses, ghost images from die clash, broad edges, weak rims, and unusual coloration. Or wait, because the next multimillion-dollar discovery could be right in your pocket. And as we wrap up this unbelievable yet fully documented saga of the $72 million 1988 P quarter dollar, we hope you've been inspired, entertained, and perhaps even motivated to explore your own coin collection or roll of change with fresh eyes and open curiosity, because history has proven that even the smallest everyday object can hide a story of epic proportions and a value beyond comprehension. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into numismatic wonder, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more extraordinary stories where history, value, and mystery come together in the palm of your hand. And maybe, just maybe, the next story we tell will be about your lucky find. Today you are about to witness the incredible true story of how an ordinary-looking 1991 P Washington quarter dollar coin stunned the world with its unimaginable $106 million valuation, a coin so deceptively common that it once passed through countless hands unnoticed, tucked in pockets and dropped in soda machines. Yet one specific version of this coin, bearing the Philadelphia mint mark, holds within it a constellation of minting errors, die anomalies, production oddities, and rare structural quirks so profound that experts agree it represents one of the most valuable circulation coins in American history. And as we dive deep into the history, the mystery, the technical minting flaws, and the numismatic astonishment behind this record-setting coin, we invite you to stay glued to the very end, because this is more than just a tale of copper and nickel. It's about how one rare combination of errors turned into a collector's holy grail, an investor's jackpot, and a coin so unique it has never been replicated in full detail since its discovery. And perhaps even more exciting is the possibility that more such coins could still exist, hiding in plain sight, forgotten in desk drawers, buried in coin jars, or even sitting in your pocket change right now, because the 1991 P quarter dollar didn't stand out immediately until a particular example caught the eye of a seasoned collector who noticed an eerie doubling on George Washington's profile, an unnatural smoothness on the rim, and a ghost-like outline of a second eagle on the reverse, leading to a forensic-level analysis by numismatic experts who determined that this single coin was the product of not just one but several rare minting errors, including but not limited to a strong doubled die obverse, a misaligned die strike, multiple clash marks, a broad strike without collar, a die crack running across the motto "I in God We Trust." And perhaps most shockingly, a transitional planchet error suggesting it may have been struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or a leftover composition from a prior year, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find. And let us begin by breaking down how each of these errors could have happened and why, when combined, they turn a coin worth 25 cents into a piece of metal worth more than most mansions, starting with the doubled die obverse, which occurs when the die itself is engraved with a doubled image due to a misalignment during the hubbing process, where the master hub imprints the design onto the working die, and if the hub strikes the die twice but shifts even slightly between blows, it creates a doubled appearance that gets transferred onto every coin struck by that die. And in the case of this 1991 piece specimen, the doubling is especially prominent in the word Liberty and in the letters of "I in God We Trust," and is so significant that it is visible to the naked eye, which is exceedingly rare, and this in itself would already make the coin valuable. But what compounded its value further was the misaligned die strike, where the obverse and reverse dies were not perfectly aligned during striking, leading to an image that appears tilted, with a portion of the design shifted toward the edge, creating both visual uniqueness and a technically complex error difficult to reproduce, which shows a lapse in die setup at the mint that year and the presence of clash marks, which are faint imprints of the reverse design visible on the obverse side and vice versa, resulting from the obverse and reverse dies striking each other directly without a blank planchet in place, is another compelling layer to this coin's identity, because clash marks usually occur only briefly before the dies are removed or repolished, and their appearance on this coin means it came from a very specific moment in the minting process, and adds to the narrative of how this single quarter became a snapshot of minting chaos. Now enter the broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar which normally holds the blank in place during striking, resulting in a coin that is slightly larger in diameter with no defined rim and has a warped, stretched look that is unmistakable to collectors, and again rare, especially when combined with other errors. And as if that weren't enough, this specific coin also has what's known as a die crack, which is a raised line on the coin's surface caused by a fracture in the die itself, and in this example a clear die crack runs diagonally through the motto "I in God We Trust" across Washington's neck and into the field, which not only adds uniqueness but also provides a time-specific fingerprint for when in the die's lifespan the coin was struck, suggesting it was toward the end of the die's usability, and likely just before it was replaced. And the final piece of the puzzle is the transitional planchet error, because this coin weighs slightly less than a normal 1991 p quarter, and metallurgical testing revealed subtle differences in composition, suggesting it may have been struck on a planchet left over from 1990, or one intended for a foreign coin, or even a different U.S. denomination like a nickel or dime. And transitional planchet errors are among the rarest of all coin anomalies, because they represent a fundamental failure in mint logistics, allowing blank discs of the wrong type to be fed into presses and struck with the wrong design. And all of these factors came together in this one coin, creating a specimen so rare, so flawed in so many perfect ways, that it transcended collectible status and became an artifact of minting history. And once it was submitted to a professional grading service and encapsulated, it earned a designation that stunned the numismatic world with a perfect storm of errors that are each individually worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, when found in isolation, but together made this 1991 p quarter an object of desire that drew bidding wars from elite collectors at high-profile auctions, and eventually crossed the $100 million threshold, setting a record not just for Washington quarters but for any U.S. coin struck in circulation and sold on open market. And this sudden valuation explosion triggered a frenzy among collectors everywhere, who began re-examining their 1991 p coins with magnifying glasses, digital scales, and ultraviolet lights, hoping to spot similar characteristics. And while hundreds of thousands of 1991 p quarters were minted that year, only a microscopic fraction could have come from the specific die pair or production sequence that created this exact specimen. And since minting dies are replaced frequently and anomalies often appear briefly before being corrected or discarded, the probability of identical coins appearing is vanishingly small but not zero, and that tantalizing possibility has kept the hunt alive. And some experts believe that as many as 5 or 10 similar coins could still be out there, lost in circulation or hidden in collections, and this has driven up the value of all era quarters from the early 1990s, particularly those with doubling signs or misaligned features. And if you're wondering what to look for, the first clue is in the doubling, which is easiest to spot in the letters of Liberty, especially the vertical strokes, and in the word trust, where the T and R sometimes appear as if they have shadows or echoes, and then the rim should be examined for signs of a broad strike such as uneven width or complete absence of a raised edge, and flipping the coin over can reveal die rotation if the reverse is not perfectly vertical, and weight tests can help identify planchet anomalies with precision. Digital scales capable of measuring down to hundredths of grams, and even though these checks may seem simple, they have helped ordinary people discover extraordinary coins worth life-changing sums, and the story of the 1991 P quarter is the ultimate proof that not all treasure lies buried, and sometimes it jingles in your jeans. And since the sale of this air-filled specimen, news outlets and coin forums have been flooded with stories of people dusting off old coin jars, searching rolls from banks, and revisiting childhood collections, and what they're all hoping for is to find another coin born from that brief moment of minting mayhem that turned a 25-cent piece into a $106 million phenomenon. And if you're inspired to join the hunt, remember to avoid cleaning or altering any coin you suspect might have value, as doing so could destroy the very characteristics that make it rare, and instead consult with professional grading companies or local numismatic clubs who can provide verification and guidance. And if you do find a coin with multiple overlapping errors, it's worth documenting every detail, including close-up photos, weight measurements, and known provenance, as these help build the case for uniqueness and potential market value. And what makes the 1991 P quarter story so special isn't just the money. Although the $106 million figure is jaw-dropping, it's the reminder that even something as mundane as spare change can hold stories of imperfection and history, an extraordinary confluence of circumstances that bring excitement to our daily lives and invite us to look closer at the world around us. And if this video has sparked your curiosity or inspired you to check your coins, we hope you'll like and subscribe, because we've only scratched the surface of the world's most mysterious and valuable coins, and your next great discovery could be just a glance away.